Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. And I've put together the top 7 key market drivers I look at when analyzing a new real estate market. Go to sethferguson.org to download your free copy. Our guest today has worked in the real estate industry for 6 years and has been a part of over 750 deals. He's also the author of The First 25 Things Not Taught in School That Every Young Person Needs to Know. Josh Culler joins us today. Josh, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Seth. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, really pumped up. You did an awesome job on the Good Success podcast, and just wanted to say thanks for having me on your amazing show.
Yeah, that was awesome. Got to interview Seth on the Good Success podcast, which I'm the host with Tom Olson. I know you've had Tom Olson on the show here too. So that's still going on. And so love hosting other people, but Seth was awesome. Seth was our first Canadian that was on the show. So that was fun.
Yeah, free maple syrup for everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So let's get into your real estate goals right now. Where are you looking to go with real estate?
So mine's a little bit different just because I have a media business that I'm running, right? So I have been involved in the real estate investing industry for the past 6 years. I've wholesaled on my own. I have flipped one property on my own and will never do that ever again. And I'm looking to get at least 3 rentals by the end of the year in my portfolio. What I'm really doing a lot more is just the lending side of it, because I have a media business to run, right? And so in order for me to wholesale deals, in order for me to fix and flip deals and all that, however else you can do active real estate investing, that's going to take away from my attention of my actual income, right? So for me, it's a lot more lending. Being the bank, it's more passive, right? It's a lot easier. And so I'm in Northwest Indiana, and there's a whole lot of people that are wholesaling and fix and flipping in this area. And the unfortunate thing for them, but the fortunate thing for me, is that for some reason in this neck of the woods, these people don't have big national networks. And so they're getting a lot of funding from banks, and which causes them to cap out at some point. And some of them can't get the amount of funds that they need in order to do the deals that they want to do. And so they've got to go look for private money somewhere, but they don't know a lot about private money because they're not involved in national networks and masterminds and all that other stuff. And so that's where somebody like me comes in. Tom, I know, does a lot of lending to these local investors as well. Excuse me. So that's what my goals are, is to lend more, be the bank, and have 3 rentals in my portfolio by the end of the year. It's looking like it possibly will hit that. But by the time, in 10 years, so by the time actually I just turned 26, but my 10-year goal for 35 was to have 10 rentals in my portfolio. So Those are my goals.
No, those are good goals. So with your media, how do you think about the flow of money between real estate and your lending and your business? So do you take every spare dollar that you make from your business and lend it out? How do you because lots of people, they have their, I guess their bread and butter business, and then they also have real estate on the side.
Yeah. And I really didn't learn about lending until right when I got into the real estate investing industry. And I even didn't start doing it until probably 3.5, 4 years later. I mean, you got to understand, I was 19 when I got into the game. Yeah. And, for a 19-year-old coming out of working in a warehouse, jumping into this kind of thing, it's a shock. It's a total world shock. You don't know what's going on. So it took me a little bit of time to get used to it and learn how to do it. So, I mean, I'm not sure. Can you ask that question one more time? Because I forgot where I was going to go with that.
Yeah, no. I was just asking, how you think about the flow of money from your business to now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I knew where I was going. I needed to give that backstory, and then I lost track of where that whole flow was going. But what I try to do is, you see, in my media business too, I have a subscription model where I have a guaranteed income that's coming in. Then, because I didn't want it to be a project-based media business where it could be a whole roller coaster throughout the entire career of what I'm doing. So I do take a good portion of my income, and this is more of a lifestyle type thing for me, I believe. And hopefully I'm answering your question here, Seth, but for me, it's more of a lifestyle thing where I don't go out and buy expensive toys. I don't go out and blow all kinds of cash on stuff. I'm not at the bars all weekend and all that stuff. So really, me and my wife, we only live off of what we need. And then, we have a little fun. We go on vacations. We do some international traveling and stuff, but it's not a whole lot. So because of that, I'm not stuck where I'm living paycheck to paycheck and having to find out where my next income is going to come in. And I feel like a lot of people do that, especially in the real estate investing industry. It's where you could get a lot of money. And then you see all these people on social media. They've got the new cars. They've got the big houses. They're going on these huge vacations and all this stuff, and they're just blowing money. But then you find out later that they're struggling with life. They're not actually like passively investing. So for me, I'm not wanting to actively invest for the rest of my life. I'm wanting it to be just passive, so that my media business is my active income, right? And so I do take a good portion of my income and put that into a Roth IRA. First of all, that's the first thing. I just got a 401k set up with my media business, and I don't have any employees, so I don't have to offer that to anybody else. And so I put money in there and then lend out of that. So it's really good balance, I believe, of making sure you understand what you need. So calculating burn rate for your expenses of living, and not, have some fun money too, but not going way overboard where you spend every dime that you get. And that's really the trick that's been good for me.
Yeah. And you said you're 26 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're in a good spot. I remember when I was 26, I had the nice car, I had the nice house and all that. And I so wish I could go back in time and just say, hey, listen, just buy a couple more properties and you'll be more than okay.
Yeah. And I tell people too, it's okay. I mean, I just bought a Ford Explorer a couple months ago, but the only reason I bought that was because the 2003 Hyundai Santa Fe that we had was having all kinds of problems where I was taking it to the shop almost every single month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. So I had to buy a newer vehicle, and I looked at it as not an investment because it's a depreciating asset, obviously, but because I'm buying a newer vehicle, I'm not having to spend time going to the shop and spending money on, fixing the car and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the mindset that I go through is, do I need this? And if I don't, then I take those extra funds and have a little bit of fun money, take, my wife on dates and go get out and that kind of thing, but take a good chunk of my money, throw that into an IRA, Roth IRA, or my 401k if my Roth's maxed out, and then lend that money so that it's income that way. So,
yeah. And so because you're still a young guy, are you dipping into the money you're making from lending, or are you just stockpiling that to lend out at a future date?
No, see, that's the thing. That's where it's kind of an advantage for me, because the active income that I have coming in, I don't have to dip into the investment money that's coming back, because I'm only living off of what I need. And the active income that's coming in from my media business is taking care of my lifestyle and then some. And so I'm able, and I'll be honest with you too, Seth, this month that I had this past July was a little bit of a rough month. And I've come to find out that it was going on with everybody. And I'm not sure why, but I had a little bit of a rough month. And so I had to dip into some reserves that I had that I made sure I stockpiled away, but I did not touch investment money. That, and especially, and I can't, because it's, they're in the IRAs, and so I can't touch that until I'm 59 and a half. But yeah, I don't ever have to worry about dipping into that for that reason, because I can't. But secondly, the active income that I have coming in does take care of my lifestyle, and it's not where I'm, it's not like I'm making more money and then spending along the same lines or over that. So
yeah. For sure. So can you talk to us about the role media plays in real estate, and how, an investor can really leverage media? Because this is, I think, a lot of people are really good at knowing real estate. They're good at the numbers, but they lack that media or the publicity branding side of things.
Yeah. There's a couple of different roles that play into this. So my clients are kind of 50-50, where about 50% of them are influencers, where they're like what you're doing. You have a podcast, you're technically an influencer, you're putting content out there. And so for them, I'm not creating content of trying to acquire deals. So on the acquisition side, I'm not creating content showing off the new fix and flip that they did that's going to go into the retail market, that kind of stuff. But the other 50% is that. So I'm helping create content and media in general for these businesses that are active real estate investors. So it's a good mix of both. And every facet, every kind of silo that you have is different where you got to create the media. The first thing that I'll tell you is to make sure that you have a good brand. Branding is everything. And I'm not just talking about the logo, the colors, the fonts, the aesthetics, the websites, all that stuff. Now, all that is branding, obviously, but branding also includes your sales department. It also includes your marketing. It includes finance, the operations. I mean, it's everything. The brand is everything. One thing that I always tell people that are fix and flipping, like when you hire that contractor, you better vet them well because they're representing you. If the next door neighbor is hearing loud music and finds trash all over their yard and, beer bottles everywhere because the contractors are trying to have a nice lunch and party with each other or whatever, that can go back on the contractor, but ultimately it goes back on you because you own the house, you hired the contractor. So it ruins your reputation, which also equates to your branding. And so make sure you build that good brand up in every area of your business. But going back to media as it relates to branding is having a good logo, a good colors and font allocation and that kind of stuff, having that set up so that you're standing apart from the rest of the competition. And this is one thing that I'm very much focused. I mean, my media business is focused in the real estate investing industry just because I know it. But more than ever, I'm branding people that have acquisitions sides of the business, right? I'm creating a brand for that acquisition department. And the reason being is because they understand that if they have a good aesthetically looking brand, that they're going to stand out from all these other brands that they got these logos on Fiverr and it's their name buys houses. So Seth buys houses, Josh buys homes, that kind of stuff. And that stuff works, but you can always have it better. And a solid brand is going to connect with your audience better if it's done right, and make you stand out so that next time you do that mailing piece that you're sending out, the postcards that you're sending out to that 10,000 people that you're sending them to, instead of the seller or the distressed seller having to pick between 15 different yellow postcards, they see yours that's on top and it's like, oh, this one's different. And so that's important. So that's one side of it, is having a good brand, good design, and having that built out. The second part of it is the content, really is pushing out content on a consistent basis. What you're doing right now, this podcast, is content. When you were on the Good Success podcast, that's content. But one of the biggest questions I get from active investors is, how can I do that? Because I'm not looking to build a YouTube channel with 1 million distressed sellers, right? That's just not going to happen. I mean, that'd be cool if it did, but that's, whatever. But
that's probably why they're distressed sellers, because they're spending too much time on YouTube.
That's right. Yeah. So, but realistically, that's not going to happen. And so a realistic strategy would be to create content, building up your reputation, and content is going to go out on your website, your Facebook page, YouTube, wherever your audience is where you need to go to them. And next time you're at, the signing table, get a quick video testimonial with the person that's selling you the house. Make sure that you're directing them on what they're going to say so that they're not going in circles, so that they're not saying things that are relevant. And then get that posted, get it produced a little bit. I mean, there's tons of platforms online where you can make it look good and aesthetically sharp, and get that posted. And that's what happens, because a lot of these acquisitions brands, these companies that I work with, they want to build this brand, but then you go to their Facebook page, which is normally the second place or sometimes the first place that somebody's going to check you out. They'll go there and then there's nothing in the feed. And then they're like, oh, is this guy really legit? So content gives you credibility. And that's how it relates with media. So those are a couple of things. I mean, obviously there's a ton of different things that go into it. But those are a couple things I'd give you right off the bat.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this then. This is a common problem. Somebody's been doing real estate for a bit. They know they need to up their branding game. Would you say they should focus on content first, or should they focus on getting that new logo and kind of sprucing up the colors in the website? Because it's almost like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've never had that question asked to me.
This is why we produce good content on the show.
That's right. That's right. I would say execution is far more important than the looks. And that's coming from somebody, and this is just my personal opinion. I've heard it both ways before. But I mean, honestly, like everybody starts at zero. So you got to start somewhere. And I would say that because in order to get a brand designed correctly, it's going to cost a few $1,000s in order to have that happen. Whereas content, you can take your video out right now and shoot a video and post on Facebook for free.
Yeah.
So naturally, and a lot of times somebody that most of the time, you know, if you got this big business, you know, let's say it's a big rental, property management company that has 1,000 doors under management, they already probably have a good brand design because they've gotten to that level where they know they think they need one. But somebody that's starting off, maybe you just got into the game and like you're mentioning, like you've done a couple deals, you need to just start, like follow that principle. You did not perfect your process before you did your first deal. You just went out and did it. So that's the execution side of it. So on the media side, the execution is far more important than the looks, I believe. So just get content out there. It's far more important, but eventually you need to make sure that you're circling back around, because what you want to do with the content is keep it consistent with the looks. So anytime I'm doing content production for somebody, right before I jumped on the podcast here, I was doing one for a guy named Dan Zitowski or something like that. I can't even remember his name, pronounce his name, but Dan, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I was producing his content and making sure I've got a whole color palette set, the fonts that I'm using, and so everything's staying consistent because you want people to remember seeing that look, that video. So every time it comes across their feed, they're like, it impacts their brain. They're like, I know those colors, I know those fonts. You know, they're not saying that consciously, but their subconscious is. And so they're gonna watch it because they know it's you, because they love the content that you put out. So content first, I think. Branding comes second, but branding is important. So I'm not minimizing the importance of the brand, but content, pump it out there, just execute.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I find a lot of people hide behind, oh, well, my website's not finished or my logo's not done, as an excuse not to actually take the step and produce some content. And right. I really like what you said about the consistency, because we know it takes between, like 7 and 15 times of seeing something before you remember it. So like you said, having the colors and palettes is just constantly grinding at the person's mind to stay top of mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the big questions I get to, and a lot of times people don't have this problem just because they're not already putting enough content out there. But one of the biggest questions I've gotten recently is, am I ever going to put out too much content? And you just mentioned, like, you got to see it 7 times before it actually hits your brain. And you're like, oh, I know this clicks. This makes sense now. My answer is very straightforward, and the answer is no. You're never going to saturate it. Like, as of now, if you asked me that 4 or 5 years ago, it might have been different. But the way that algorithms work on social platforms now is that the more that you interact with somebody's content, the more you're going to see it. So, and naturally, if I'm going to interact with Seth's content, that's probably because I like it. So it may be good for me to see more and more of it. But I mean, if you ever gone on Facebook and then, you know, you're like, am I still friends with that person? And then you go search their name and it pulls up still friends, and they've got like this, they're posting every single day, but you never see it. It's probably because you never interact with it. And so Facebook shoves it way down into the algorithm so that you don't see it. So you're never going to saturate somebody's feed. So don't worry about that. Just put content out there. Focus on the value of the content. Don't try to sell stuff. If you have a product or service, I would say you probably want to do about 90-10. So 90% of the video should be pure value content. 10% should be, even sometimes lower, should be sales and call to actions.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's like Gary Vee. He's got the jab, 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 and then you hit
right.
him with the offer. I like it.
And that is a perfect way to put it when it comes to content. Like there is no other analogy that I would give you outside of that. Is just jab, 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 and then right hook. Like the more value that you bring to somebody, the more you're going to connect with them, the better, like just the better it is when you do have a product or service that you're going to sell them. They'll be highly more likely to purchase that.
Yeah.
So.
No, lots of good stuff. Love it. Well, let's move over to a deal that comes to mind, like a Keystone deal. I know we were chatting a little bit about this before we started recording. So, do you want to give us the story?
Yeah. So, this one's more of this is a negative one. So hopefully, Seth, you're cool with that. Like this is something that went bad. Like it was a bad deal.
Actually,
is that okay?
But funny enough, we get more replies and responses with the bad ones. So
awesome. Okay. Okay, good. So this was the first deal I was ever involved with, like hands on. So before this deal happened, I was doing the marketing. I was doing, closings and cold calling and all this other crazy stuff at 19, 20 years old, pre-looking houses, putting bandit signs out, all that good stuff. So this was the first deal that I was really closing as a salesperson. I was just put in that role just because it kind of fit naturally at that point. But this was with a company that we were buying and selling houses in 5 different states in the Midwest: Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky. And myself and another guy named Gary Harper, who hired me on to join. He was actually partners with Tom Olson and then another guy named Wayne. And I joined them. I was 20 years old, and he put me in the field in Michigan and had me buying and selling houses. So I was doing acquisitions and sales. I was all of it. And so we had this house. I could still remember the address, but I'm not going to say it just because I don't want people to go look it up. And I got a good deal on it, right? Like it was awesome. It was perfect. And then we closed on it. We actually did close on the deal. So we didn't just put it under contract. We weren't wholesaling it. We were going to flip it. So we put the contract on the deal. We got it, went through 100% clear. And 2 days later, some really bad storms came in, and there was a tree sitting right next to the house. And if the house is like this, so it's facing like this, right? And this is the wider, it's a longer house. The tree was right here, and it just fell like that.
Oh no.
It just completely collapsed in the entire house. Luckily, nobody was in it. Like the people had already moved out and everything. They were distressed sellers, and they completely moved out. And the tree just demolished the house. We lost every cent on that deal. We didn't have insurance on it because at that point we were kind of in the middle. We were just trying to figure out what we're going to do. We closed on it, and then 2 days later, like about a day and a half later, because it happened in the middle of the night, and our field guy went out to go put some bandit signs out to get some contractors so that they could work on the house. And he saw it, he sent me a picture, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. So the thing I would tell you, because I did not bring in anybody else, like I didn't bring Gary in, I didn't bring Tom in and say, hey, we closed on this deal, what do we need to do now? I was just trying to figure it out on my own. So the advice that I would give you is, if you don't know 100% sure what you're doing, which I didn't, I was at about 30%, go get help. Go figure out from people that are actually, like, especially if they're on your team, like that's a no-brainer. But we lost every cent on that deal, didn't make it back up, and it was a bad day for me. But
yeah,
lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Insure your property, I guess.
That's right. Exactly.
It's pretty cheap. Yeah, we've had some other, like we had one story where the tenant set fire to the building.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So like insurance is cheap. You might as well take it out and protect yourself.
And I didn't know where to go with that. I knew we were going to get insurance on it at some point, but I just didn't ask. And so I just figured it would come around at some point. The question would, and yeah, it never did. At least before the tree had fell in the house.
Yeah, I like that story. I'm sure. Did you get like the picture with the text message with the tree like in the house, or was it a phone call?
No, it was a picture and it said, guess what? And the guess what came in before the picture did.
Oh,
So
really?
as soon as I got guess what, I was like, good, bad. And then the picture came in and I was like, oh, so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that story. How has getting involved in real estate, like you've got the media side, you've got the lending side, you're looking to pick up some rentals. How has getting involved in real estate changed your life so far?
Well, this is a little bit more intangible of an answer than tangible. Like I could put my hands on it. And the reason is because before I got into this industry, I was that employee mindset, 9 to 5 worker, go home on weekends, look forward to Friday and be excited all day. And then Sunday's coming around and then just Sunday night happens and it's like, oh, Monday's tomorrow. And then I was that guy that was posting, I hate Mondays posts on Facebook. And that was me before I got into this industry, driving forklifts, working at factories and stuff like that. I'm in the Chicagoland area, so there's plenty of those that go around. And when I got into this industry, the first business really that I was working for was one of my buddies that I played basketball with in high school. His dad owned 500 doors in the Northwest Indiana area. And he brought me on. They were doing wholesaling and in addition to the rentals. And that was really like my foundation for learning that. And I was with them for about 6 months and things just didn't work out. I wasn't on the same page with them. And then I gave a call to Gary and that's when he hired me on to this team and essentially kind of worked through it. And I ended up with Tom at Good Success for the long run and then went full time into my media business. But all that progression just like really puts a spotlight on this industry. And I always say it, like, I believe that the real estate investing industry is the best industry to be in because of the people, because of guys like you, Seth, because of guys like Tom. I know you've had several other people that are personal friends of mine that have been on your show. And there's just, you can't put a price tag on that. Like if I went back and I did not get into the real estate investing industry, I can guarantee you I wouldn't be on this podcast right now. I wouldn't be able to share some of these stories that I've shared, this information. I definitely wouldn't have had my media business off the ground. And honestly, like there's like so many things. I mean, I wouldn't have come back around to meet my wife and married her because the reason why I did was because Gary Harper sat down with me at lunch one day. We were talking about life and stuff. And then he's like, oh, you should go ask her out. And then I did. And, it's just stuff like that, just intangible things. I was never on a path to self-development. I was never trying to make myself better. I was always that person that just didn't care about reading books and, that kind of stuff. I see all those books that you got behind you and I've got a shelf right here that I've read about 75% of them. I'm on Audible now. And so I'm absorbing a lot of that, but I just wasn't at that point. I was living paycheck to paycheck, spending every single dime that I would come in, didn't have any investment strategies, nothing. Until I met the people that are in this industry. And these are the most giving people that you'll ever meet. And so, I mean, what masterminds that you go to, meetup groups, networking with people, electronically. So over Facebook, over podcasting, whatever. So I hope that's an okay answer because that's more intangible answer than anything. It's just, that's the impact that it's had on my life. It's really just been 100% life-changing. And I would not be in the position where I'm at today if it wasn't for me getting into this industry.
No, 100%. I like that answer. That's a good one. So, so Josh, if somebody's looking to reach out, learn more about what you're doing, get in touch, ask questions and all that stuff, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you could go to either my website or email me. My website is culler.media, so CULLER.media, or you can just type in cullermedia.com. It all goes to the same place. Or you could email me, josh@cullermedia.com. Again, Culler is spelled CULLER. I'm working on the domain COLOR because I know I've had a couple people contact me like, I went to your website. Can you copy and paste the website to me? And then they send it to me as COLOR, but working on it, but don't go there. So those are a couple places that you could connect with me. So
that's perfect. Well, Josh, just want to say thanks so much for taking the time today and sharing those awesome tips and the good story.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. I hope to be back soon. And I hope to be able to interview you again on the Good Success podcast. It was a lot of fun having you on. So I appreciate you having me on today.
Got to represent the land of igloos and dog sleds.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, I was in Toronto in March for my wife's birthday, and I loved it. The city is amazing. Like, I absolutely loved it. So it's
Yeah,
great.
no, it's no complaints whatsoever. No complaints. So no, that's great. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well on your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.